Come with me while I make my Fursuit's feet paws. First, cut out a pattern for whatever shoe you have to use. I'm using this foam board because it was the only thing that I could find. Once you get your pattern, trace it on the board then. Cut it out. Snip, snip, snip. Pop a bio salute. After that, you'll want to glue the shoes onto the foam board. Glue, glue, glue. Now for some foam action. Pure rage. Need to fix these dumb holes. Trace the hole out on the foam. And now time to glue. After that, we need to make the paws themselves with foam. Trace out the pattern from before. Done. Gluey glue glue. Now we want to make sure everything looks even and smooth. Make sure each side is symmetrical. Now carve them and smooth them out. Spooky. All done with the toesies. Now to just build around the shoe. I got my package while filming this. Talia's fur from FursuitSupplies.com. More and more foam. Trust the process. I added these big pieces for her digitigrade legs. Since she's a big cat, I wanted her to have 2 claws. Now build up where your ankles will be, and at an angle to show the digitigrade effect. I added a little foam piece on the top, so when I add the fur it will be easier to make a pattern. Yoink. Foaming is all done now, stay tuned for more videos of me working on Talia. So yeah, I totally didn't think of that. Time to fix this up. Boom. All better. Thank you for pointing this out. Now to seal some of the places that need more glue. Trimmy trim trim. I'm also going to update these a bit by making them more angle to give off a better digitigrade. Everything is a process. Don't ever be afraid to make mistakes and take advice. Little uneven there. All better. And now to showcase them. Being worn, a lot of people wanted me to show how they actually looked. Hard to coming soon, I promise. Just waiting for the rest of the fur in the mail. Come with me to finally finish my Fursuit's feet paws. First, I'm taping an entire pub. This will be used for a pattern later. You can also use duct tape, but it has ripped my foam before, so I used painter's tape to be safe now. Now to draw seam lines and fur directions. I make seam lines wherever I feel the fur will be pulled the most, or if I feel it will be easier to sew in that spot. I also added blue to show where the blue pattern will go. I ended up changing this up later, when I actually made the fur though. Now to cut it out. I placed all the tape super flat on some scrap paper. I used my old notes from an old math class. All done with the patterns. Now to put them on fur and cut them out. As you saw, don't forget to flip any patterns to make sure they go the right way. From here, I'm shaving these white pieces so it'll be easier to hand sew them later. I'm clipping any cuts or sewing lines I have in them, since I wanted to make sure they fit the pubs. I also stuck the claws in their respective slits in the fur. Done with the pubs for now. Now to make the interior lining. I measured every side and made 4 rectangles based on the square at the opening of each paw. Then I proceeded to clip them all together for later. You stuffing this inside here for now. Now for dark blue, my favorite color on her color palette. Be sure to cut everything slow and don't rush. Fursuits take time and patience. All done with dark blue. And now for the final color, gray. Did some off-camera mining. I have everything pinned to make sure I know where everything goes. As you can see, I also changed her pattern just a little bit. Lunchy lunch lunch. Now to sew the white toesies. After that, time to sew the rest. I used my sewing machine to make it quicker, but hand sewing will always work too. recommend getting a stick to push. Any furring when sewing anything, we don't want fur in the seams. Don't. Follow my actions I'm very bad at. Keeping the fur away. Refilling the bobbin. All sewed. Now to glue everything onto the foam. I did the first one off camera to make sure everything looked right. Gluey glue glue. This is a hard process. You just have to kinda go for it and smoosh everything round as you go. Eventually, it'll look like this. Now to shave it down and trim any crispy lines. I wanted this fur to be relatively short, since Talia's a tiger, and tigers aren't necessarily fluffy. I left this floofy bit of glue on the back for a cute look, though. And now all done. I'm going to be adding a proper bottom to the feet soon. Just don't have time in this video. And for the reveal of actually wearing them. Thank you all again for your support and all of the advice throughout this process. Stay tuned for more Talia content. Come with me to finish my Fursuit tail. First, I'm taping around a few of the links to get a good size for the fur I need. I'm getting my base color of fur, getting a general shape made with the pieces of tape. Then I'm sketching out the pink stripes I'll be cutting out later. All cut out. Now I'm gonna get the pink for the stripes and use the pieces from the gray I cut out as the pattern. Also getting the blue parts cut out. Now attaching the stripes with clip sew. I can sew. Sew. Just taking it nice and slow, don't want to rush this part. For the pieces I couldn't get sewn in the machine, I'm hand sewing. This is called a whip stitch. Nothing complicated. Now for the gore thingy at the end of the tail. I got everything stuffed in there now too. I glued the base piece to the fur toe. Secure the two together. I also made a little felt tube for a belt loop on the little gore piece. After that, I glued and sewed the circle onto the base. Now for some good old trimming. I ended up shaving the gray parts and keeping the white long. I actually forgot to record making them. Wait, apologies. And now all done. Thanks for watching. Come with me to make my Fursuit. Hand paws. Starting with this basic paw pattern, I'm cutting out everything I need. I have two patterns for the two sides of the toes and two sides of the paws. I'm using pink minky for the paw pads. Shaving down the toe fur. Some paw pads done. I'm stuffing them with polyfill. Big and squishy. I'm using a blanket stitch on these. I was recommended this by someone. Last vid. Essentially, it's just looping your needle through the excess thread you have, over and over again. It should look like it's all connected together, just like that slit I just pointed to. Here's the empty shell of the back of my left paw. All my claws are hard plastic and glow in the dark. Wiggle, wiggle. Wiggly, wiggle. I cut lining for the insides. Sew them together. Here's them all sewed together. I have the toes stuffed and added You'll do claws. Boom. Better lighting. The big reveal. Comment any questions you have. I love answering you guys. I hope you all enjoyed. Come with me to make my fursuit head. Kitty. Pattern, pattern, pattern. Using said patterns to cut out fur. Speed ran that. Sewing stuff together. Fortnight. I'm using a blanket stitch to sew everything together. Hand sewing all this took forever. Making sure it fits. Glue time. Shaved and clean. Stay tuned for her hair and eyes. Come with me to finally finish my fursuit head. Starting with a pattern for the eyes. I'm just tracing the eye on some cling wrap. Putting tape on the back, 3. All cut out how I want it. Pretty. Making fancy eyelids. Trace that out. Make some black accents for them eyelids. Now for eyes. This is a paper render of how I want them to look. I'm airbrushing these on a plastic sleeve through material similar to buckram. beauty. Now for her hair. This pattern was actually scrapped and made a little smaller. Poofy. And now to make the neck. This was really weird to sew, but I did it. And she's all done. Note the thread spools in her ears are. Place holders for her gauges. 3.